Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and I am going to be doing some city work today, all over the place. Over this end, maybe on some new tables, over here with the bridge and the cross section, and more sewer pipes and suggestions from you, and well, maybe not all of that, but definitely some of it. Good. Well, I had hoped to pick up where we left off with our skate park and continue the kind of cross section all along this area here with loads more sewer pipes and stuff like that. Fun scenes that you've suggested, but I'm short some very vital parts, one of which is these inverted arch pieces that make the pipe sort of corner edges. They're absolutely vital and I've run out. So yeah, I have got them on order and they're kind of due about today, I think. So if they do arrive, I might tuck into that package, leave the rest for a future brick haul, but grab the parts I need. But we won't be doing that first of all, at the very least. And talking of orders and packages, I have ordered already 2 more of the great big orange girder sections that made up the skyscraper facade that we did last time that went down very well, to make it even taller, because heaven knows we've got a lot of real estate right above it to make it a lot taller. And I may well put it on a big sort of square plinth or something like that to give it a couple of regular floors before the tower itself. But I won't be adding a door to this, because remember, this is a facade. So the other side of the wall, which is kind of our cut-off line, there might be as much of this building again, or even more. And that might be opening onto a road or something like that. So that's where the front door would be, rather than opening out onto some busy train lines. So yeah, there might be a janitor's sort of back door or something like that. That was one idea, and some sort of surrounds to make it look a bit more incorporated in due course. But yeah, we can't do everything at once, so we'll see what that looks like when we've got the final position, the final height, and maybe some of those plinth type floors that might be sort of on a more sort of square profile. But anyway, yeah, so that is to be continued. So where I'm going to actually start today is down here. And one of the things we're going to move to that cross section that we looked at near the skate park is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle base. It used to be here in the old city where it made a lot more sense, but it just doesn't really work now. So that's going to go over there and change from light bluish grey to dark bluish grey to fit in with its new territory. And I'll probably make it a bit bigger and slightly more open, actually, so it's a bit more light, because it's very dark at the moment. So we'll do that. But the main thing I want to get sorted is this bridge and the kind of train crossing, and then I can do all the rock faces right up to it and underneath it and so on. And I've got the equivalent rock face from the old city that I'll just, cannibalize from. And I've got a swamp monster there and a spare swamp monster, so I can do a couple of swamp monsters in a similar scene, but in a cave, which will make a lot more sense in this sort of section. So that's what we're going to do. But first of all, we need to sort out the track situation, because essentially these tracks are 8 studs apart, and that's going to put these bridges being incredibly close together, especially when you consider that these big Duplo pieces are 4 studs wide all on their own. So yeah, they're going to be virtually touching. So what I did on my last brick haul was got an order from TrixBrix, and that included some shimmy track, as I'm calling it. Its proper name is a 4 stud S-curve, which means it's got the exact same geometry as 2 straight pieces in its length, which 2 normal curves wouldn't have, of course, but moving, just 4 studs off, in this case, to the left, and then we can do another shimmy back to the right with another section after the bridge. And that would just mean that my passenger train, there's a little shimmy before it and a shimmy afterwards to bring those bridges slightly further apart, because they do need to go back to 8 studs apart, so we can get them all linked up with this wonderful T-junction section, which also needs that spacing. So we can't go off at some wacky angle or something like that. And originally, I got some 8-stud shimmy track, which is now sort of making up part of my subway system right near that blimp down there. And the reason why I couldn't use that is because when I tried it in position, it meant that all the noses of all of my fast passenger trains hit the corner of the bridge on the way through as they're sort of turning over that shimmy. So getting a 4 stud version will be less of a shimmy, and therefore should mean that they don't hit at all. I kind of mocked it up using some random single rails and stuff to try and get it as approximately right when I didn't have the actual item in hand, and it seems to work. So that's what we'll be doing next, putting in some shimmy. Then we'll know where everything is. Everything needs to be for both bridges, and we can build our rock face, because this track has to remain straight. It has to be absolutely directly straight for that cargo train with its 80 plus wagons or whatever it is, because any slight variation in a track, apart from the proper curves, means that it just falls over. And I've tried that many times with points and things like that. It just doesn't work. The forces are tremendous. It'll just tip over. So yeah, let's get that 4-stud shimmy track in there. And then we can test it with our white fast passenger train. And then our Zeppelin train, which is the longest and most pointy in my collection. Okay, so it is a shimmy to the left, followed by a shimmy to the right. It's like doing the time warp, isn't it? And I could test it just by pushing a train over, but that's not the Robin Hood bricks way, so I'm going to get our white passenger train to test this. Listen out for any collisions. Oh, I didn't hear anything. Oh, bit of a shunt there, but anyway, we'll get that back out the way before we try the Zeppelin train, and that'll be the real test, because, as I say, it is the most pointy of all. And I can use the same remote, just put it onto channel 4, and then let's get that propeller going on the back to give it some drive, and then take the handbrake off, and we're away! Fantastic, it does work. Oh, I thought it might, and oh no! Sorry, hold on. Let's stop that. Oh no! I forgot about the propeller. That needs even more clearance. Hang on. Okay, so the body is clear. Hold on, let me get that angle right and get some focus on the thing. Yeah, the body's not hitting, but put the propeller at its... Oh, the propeller's hitting badly. Oh no. That was not in the plan. This is supposed to get by absolutely fine. And I never thought about the propeller. I just thought about the nose. I was sort of checking it with my lime train and so on, and it all should have worked in theory. Well, kind of does. Yeah, I just didn't test it on one thing. This is not good. The problem is I've got this crossing here, and if I move this shimmy any further away from the bridge itself, then, well, that's going to get messed up, and then I have to have a really straight road that's already straight for quite a while. I suppose I could do that. It does still work with the track. The other option was to have the shimmy before the crossing and then have it sort of on the 12 apart for a longer section. But that means we're going to have the longest and broadest and widest level crossing known to man. And it's going to be a really expansive tiles that looks really boring. Though it would probably give us a space for kind of a middle track. Maybe we could have a little switch or something like that with something like one of these carriages on. I don't know. I think we're all right in this end because we've got a bit of space before we have to get to the T-junction. Oh, hang on. Which way does it go? It only goes that way, doesn't it? Maybe that's the solution. If it only actually goes from left to right, then maybe we only need the space on this side. Can it get through in the other direction? That's the first thing, isn't it? Yeah, it'll only be a one-directional bridge, but that is kind of the point. Everything drives on the left. So, yeah, I might try that next, and then we can see if we want to move the shimmy back, have a wide crossing, or, well, the other option would just be moving the whole bridge out another track section. But I don't really want to do that because it just spoils everything on this side, and we'll have to have a great big rock face coming right out here. Yeah, okay, back to the drawing board. I'm going to need to do some thinking. Right, I've had a bit of a panic and considered kind of deleting the last take and starting again, but I've played around with TrixBrix, which is the track design program I use just to get all the sort of orientations of all the pieces right. It's really useful if you haven't used it. It looks a bit basic, but it's good, especially in crises like this. And I've come up with two potential solutions, both of which I mentioned last time. The first one is to have the shimmy track where the train is now, which means we will have a 12-stud gap for this whole distance, not the end of the world. And I figured I could put the large horse statue in the gap in the middle, which will be full wide than it looks now. I could also have a car trapped in between the two tracks like we did last time, but this time a full-size car probably with that amount of space to play with. So that is option 1. But I think my preferred option is having it just with the extra bit of clearance on this side. I've added another piece of track, 16 long, because only the nose needs to clear on the far side and the tail needs to clear on this side, because it will always be going clockwise around my outer passenger loop, because it's based in its little old train engine shed for the Zeppelin Train Appreciation Society. What's that? ZTAS, whatever that is. And basically it'll come out that way and go around the huge loop before going only in reverse to get back in its shed. So as long as it's always facing with its nose towards us, well, the propeller will have straightened up by the time it gets through on that way and should clear on that way. So yeah, I'm going to prove that to you by putting on the propeller and then bringing it towards us. You see the nose gets clearance fine, and then it's straight, you see, and then we've got a bit more clearance for the propeller, so that actually works. And it'll even work in reverse. Wrong way, get it right, Robin, there we go. Because we've got the clearance on this side for the nose, it just won't go with its nose the other direction. But that will never be the case, will it? Because, well, it'll be driving on the wrong side of the road, effectively, in train terms. So, yeah, I think that's absolutely fine. So I think it's actually a case of crisis averted. We're all right. It just needed some lateral thinking. Phew. Well, that's a longer intro than I'd hoped without doing any actual building, but we are there. I've run this a couple more times and I am confident that the clearance is going to be sufficient. You see there's a few millimetres there, and on all the other trains it's absolutely fine as well. So we are safe and we can make some forward progress at last. So I'm going to remove the turtle layer very carefully, so we've got all of the pieces in the right place for reinstating it somewhere else with different pieces and slightly bigger and slightly wider and all the rest of it. So that will be good. Then I can start incorporating a rock face, which is a lot longer in this city than it was in the old one. So I'll have to try and make that really interesting, the sort of view there, maybe sort of coming out a bit before going back in or something like that. That would be good. Loads more blue plates underneath this bridge. And then, yeah, ballast and connection points for both of these tracks for their respective bridges as well. Maybe a bit more red fencing that I sent in. Thanks again for that. Yeah, lots of options. So I better get started. Well, first I'm ballasting the shimmy track, putting studs wherever they'll go in all of the gaps, and then we can fill in the rest with tiles. Usually I go for a few more sort of irregular connection points underneath the rails or underneath the sleepers as well, but I don't think I'll need to when it's just this short distance. It's not going to move around much at all. Yep, so fill in the gaps with tiles, and this one's pretty straightforward. So yeah, just add all of the dots on wherever they'll go in a minute. Cool. All right, ballast done, and that shimmy's looking attractive now. These rocks aren't in their final position. They're just to check the height is the same as everywhere else, so my sea level is level, so to speak. So I just adjusted the tables, legs, until it was exactly right. So that sort of should be the same as that, and it just fits without any bend at all. So now when I build the rocks up to it, it should all dovetail perfectly. So I'm going for a flat edge here and here, but it can come out to kind of any shape in and out for the rest of the section. So yeah, we'll try and make it interesting. Next I'm putting down some blue plates next to the base plate, so that will be underneath all of the shiny tiles obviously. But now and then it won't be blue, of course, will it? Because we'll have the feet for the bridge, which I've carefully positioned so it all lines up when it's back together, and that will just be surrounded by this sort of edge of murkiness, much like what we've got in the marina. So that'll just look a bit green and mossy and interesting. I'm trying to now think about how the edge will look, very similar in a way, just a very sort of thin level of maybe dark green or rock colour or something like that. So I'm using blue wedge plates and other colours of wedge plate just to kind of tessellate a shape which will take the profile of the rocks and just be a lot more interesting underneath the tiles. And it's proving quite time consuming, but yeah, I shall continue and we will have a lovely finish at the end. Okay, a little bit further on, and I've got some of those coloured wedge plates in a kind of fringe pattern along the edge. And you see there's a dark green one just in here. That's one of those in the entrance to the cave, which has now got two swamp monsters in it, sharing a meal of a fish. And I've put some sort of weeds around there to kind of disguise it a little bit, and some rocks around the edges, and support structure behind to fill in all the gaps. So when this comes in, it'll be kind of like that, with the Italian restaurant probably again up here, and we'll be able to see into that side profile, which looks a lot more natural. And then this wall will transition into the rock face somewhere around there. First time I did this, I put all of the wedge plates in kind of a bit further back and realised they were going to be pretty much underneath the base plates. That wasn't going to work. So I moved everything that was here out 2 studs. And now I've done it and we can just see that tiny sliver of green. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to have to do it again, aren't I? So I'm going to move all the blue plates underneath all of this, another 2 studs this way, which will bring the green that way. The cave will stay exactly where it is, but it just means I need to move all of the boat scene and everything else. So yeah, this is why I don't tile huge areas until I know everything's fixed, because otherwise I have to move it again and again. So yeah, kind of slow progress, but that tiny section's looking good, and it'll look even better when I've got the green more visible. Cool. Well, it never ceases to amaze me how long rock work takes. This has taken an absolutely ages-long session, but at least it's looking good. It's always a case of sort of 2 steps forward, 1 step back when you remove bits that you did that didn't look quite right, or you just wanted a little bit forward or a little bit back. And as I said, I've had all of this up sort of twice just to move it 2 studs each time. But now we do have nice, pleasing little features, like the dark green underneath the tiles there at the opening of the cave. Very subtle, but quite important. And we've got some more there in grey, and other areas as well. Just a little bit there peeking through. All that effort for such sort of tiny little details. And you'll see that I've got tiny little cheese wedge pieces in trans clear and trans light blue for splashes, where I think the rocks will be causing some disturbance to the water. Not the biggest waves out here in Brick Bay. We'll get some bigger ones when we go into the sea, and that's saving me lots of 1x1 tiles for later. There's our nice cave, and we've got these base plates on just temporarily, just to show where they'll be, but that is kind of nice and hidden. And then we've got more caves there, sort of an arch and a little nook there. I quite like that nook. It's sort of where water would swirl around in little rock pools, and maybe I'll put a crab there later. And we've got the weeds and so on. And then these red plates are for where the bridge is actually going to make contact. So yeah, they will be coming off and being replaced with the actual bridge itself. And then, not today, but next session, I'll be filling in the gap in the middle, doing underneath that thing with some sort of plinths for the blue bridge, and probably finish just shortly afterwards, because I don't know where it's going next. But yeah, I've done quite a lot today. We've got all of the blue plates in as well, and I'm absolutely surrounded by bags of bits. Got all my sort of rock bags out, so all sorts of different slopes, sort of sorted by type, all in my containers and so on. So yeah, absolutely everything all over the place. But when I sort of brush it aside, I'm quite happy with how it looks. It's got sort of good glinting off the lights in the Lego room for the water surface. I'll be able to access it to add a little bit more in the future should I need to. That's why I haven't filled in this area here. But yeah, it's sort of straight, but kind of, I don't know, it comes out a little bit. It looks quite organic. It'll look a lot better when we've got the Italian restaurant in up here, and maybe a sort of thin walkway which sort of got rocks on one side and maybe a fence on the other or something like that. Maybe some of those binoculars you can kind of view into the distance with, and we've even got a Coast Guard ring and stuff like that to add. So yeah, I think it'll look pretty good when it's done. Good progress, but yeah, always takes longer than you'd think. If you're enjoying the progress and you haven't subscribed already, then what are you waiting for? Smash that subscribe button and join the gang on TrixBrix. Well, I don't think that package is going to arrive today after all, with all of those sewer pipe pieces in. So I've gone ahead and done all of your amendments that I can without it, all to earn yourself a shiny bedoing. And there's quite a few actually. The first one is just to have a skateboard in the drink, upside down in the marina, having been catapulted there by its owner, trying some complicated trick, no doubt, and he's a bit miffed because he's going to have to get wet wading in to get it, I think. So that's good fun. It joins two good scenes together. Another vital one was adding a light to this scene, because otherwise, how's this guy supposed to navigate all the pipes and all the poops without one? So yeah, he's got a sort of miner's hat in white with the light switched firmly on, of course. So that's a very good amendment. I like that one. And to tie that in to the scene above, I've just put in a sticker for a manhole cover. That was another one. I've only got one of those, and I think I've got some somewhere else that might be a bit better. So I'm going to root around for those, but that is there for now. A lot of you wanted a bike rider, sort of BMX style. So that is the collectible series minifigure there of that. We've got some tiles underneath the coping on the top of each of these in red, just to tidy it up. So I think that is an improvement as well. Our mascot has got a spray can. There are already some spray cans over here that I didn't mention last time, but anyway, he's got one in his hand and he's waving along with this injured fellow who must have been here last week but then had a bit of a spill, and they're both waving at this young cinematographer, very much like myself, taking some pictures for YouTube, no doubt, of all of the goings on, including him waving with the mascot. So I think that combines about 4 different sort of ideas of yours all together. What else have we got? We have got the skateboarding bulldog. I think his name is Tyson in real life, and if you haven't seen that or know what I'm talking about, I suggest you watch that on YouTube after this. Tyson the skateboarding bulldog, because he is absolutely fantastic, and now he is represented there. So yes, lots of changes, lots of amendments to make this scene even better, and I think they are absolutely great. So if one of those was yours, then this is your shiny bedoing. Well done. Well, it wasn't just Jimmy Track that I unpacked on that recent brick haul from TrixBrix. I got an absolute load of different tiles for use in my city. And the first ones that I've put in are these lovely Portuguese tiles. And there's absolutely loads of different colour variations and different pattern combinations, stuff like that. But I've used them in little fours just to break up rather large expanses of grey tiling. And I think they look really nice from a distance, from close up. And yeah, they really break up that otherwise quite drab, meh looking sort of area. So yeah, I've got 4 red and black ones there. And the same pattern but different colour. I've got this blue and yellow one here, which looks really nice. That was my favourite, I think. And I think I'll have to buy a lot more of these around the city. I've got 3 different colour combinations of 2 different patterns, and there's about, well, 8 patterns and 4 colours of each or something like that to choose from. So yeah, I'll be topping up on that. But the symmetry for this section and the brightening of those areas looks really good. I mean, that looks absolutely perfect if you ask me. Got the tread plates there as well. Yes. Oh, lovely. So yeah, I've also used some of the different pavement types for this section over here, which kind of delineates the car passage over the pavement into Bricktown parking, my multi-storey car park here in my row of modulars. And I did use dark bluish grey tiles in that segment, but now I've got these lovely sort of brick type pattern, and that really joins up with the ones next to it and the stripes which must be painted on it, and looks really different whilst also looking, well, really interesting as well. So I very much like that. Yeah, looks great from a distance, doesn't it? So yeah, I'll be incorporating more of those because I got about, can't remember now, about 6, 7, 8 different types of those as well. And there's all sorts of different ones, and you can get them on dark bluish grey backdrop as well if you prefer. So yeah, they look really nice. I like them. And another thing that I got from TrixBrix this time was these lovely subway boards, which look really good. Look at that map. That must be my system with all the different lines on. So I thought I'd get enough of these to have one outside every one of my subway entrances. just to let people know where they're getting on and where they need to get off. Now, if I had one kind of gripe with these, although they do have a nice stand that does fit in with the light bluish grey pavement, it's the fact that the back looks very ugly. It does look very sort of 3D printed, and that bracket looks very flimsy indeed. If I just pop it off, it's so thin. I'm sort of worried about it. If I ever knocked it, it would just snap. So I thought I'd try and improve on it really, because the main part of it is this combination of 1x4 tiles with the printing on, of course. So what I came up with was building a little frame like this with a stronger kind of connection for the pavement. Just some plates on the side, a little light to light it up, and one of these 4x8 inverted tiles, which are available on Lego Bricks and Pieces. So yeah, you can get one of those. So when you combine the two things together, you get this, which is a lot more robust. It won't break if you sort of leant on it or knocked it over, and it gives you a very nice flat surface to put some good old cinema advertising on for the film The Brick Separator. Run, hide. So I thought that would go somewhere like, say, here, nearby the subway entrance. So then when you look at it from this direction, you're getting that film commercial. And obviously when you look at it from this direction, you've got the subway map. And that is really brightening up that scene as well. So I absolutely love that. And I've got a few of those stickers for film ads going begging, because I got some of the sticker sheets from the Ninjago sets as well, and they have them with all these sort of Sharkinator and stuff like that in it. So yeah, that will be really good to use. So I'm going to put that one there, or a bit nearer to the entrance maybe, but that'll look really, really good. So yeah, I am loving these printed tiles. And just since the last take as well, I've finished all of the ballasting and everything in this section as well, because I think this is now permanent. Now I'm happy with my bridge and the outside ones on there, so that's looking really good. So yeah, we're up to here on the slope, which I've just sort of tiled up to the edge, so we've got that sort of rough going into smooth. I like that. We won't need a fence there before you suggest one with the health and safety police. Yeah, I think adding too many fences makes the Lego city look a bit too, well, congested, really. Yeah, I've got that life ring there. I've got the Monster Hunter with his magical map looking for the swamp creatures. He doesn't know how near he is, and they're keeping a bit quiet with their munching. But I think I'll go a little bit further today, just so I can embed this and really put the bridge into position, not to be moved again, and then we can admire how that looks. I'll leave the tiling here for another day, because I'm going to have racing boats and windsurfers and goodness knows what here, so that'll probably remain unfinished for a while. But yeah, I think that's looking pretty natural, pretty good. And yeah, with all of these details from TrixBrix as well, all over the place, I think the city is looking rather smart. Oh yes, very good. Well, how about that? We've made real progress today. The red bridge is in position, locked in, with tiles on the top for the sleepers and so on. Sort of seamless join on the track side, and on the rock face, just sort of kind of goes into it. And you can see under it. Looking very nice indeed, isn't it? Wow. Very solid looking with those Duplo pieces. I absolutely love that look. And of course there'll be a second bridge now, the blue one, much more dainty and a little bit further away, thankfully. They'll still be very close indeed, but you know, in order to not waste too much space with train systems, you've really got to make them efficient, cram them in wherever you can. So yeah, we have got a lovely edge now, all the way from here to here, where we're going to encapsulate a lovely sea scene. I don't know if we're going to have racing motorboats or all of these sailed craft. I quite like the idea of that, with all these different sails I've been collecting for the windsurfers and so on, or what. But yeah, we've got a nice cross section, instead of the turtles, of the swamp creatures having their dinner, with the monster fighter looking for it. So I really like that. We've got all the sort of little nooks and those plates underneath the tiles looking good, both on the edge there and underneath the stanchion there right at the bottom. Not fully tiled in yet, you can still see it over there of course, but I think that's going to look really good when it's all fully tiled and everything's integrated. Kind of does look very integrated already, kind of from back here. Still need a few tiles on top of the bridge to finish that off, on the central bit and on the inside a little bit. And yeah, I'll probably integrate these gates and so on a bit better later on. But yeah, we now have almost half a loop of track, and then it runs from here all the way to here. Yeah, and we will have a great big figure of 8, so it's about a quarter of what we will have by the end of it. But we're getting there, inch by inch. We're moving towards a fuller room. But yeah, I really like that section. Now I think I'll definitely put the Italian restaurant back. I think it can be a bit bigger than it was before, because it was kind of squished in to a smaller space last time. And we can still have a turtle popping up his head to get some pizza. And next time we'll incorporate that scene back into the cross section next to the skateboard park with a few more bits and bobs as well, because I know you all wanted to see that. So yeah, well, we've got a bit of extra space here as well. Maybe we could have the Indian restaurant there or something like that, and maybe some more of those Portuguese coloured tiles in this section to brighten it up. But yeah, that is absolutely great. I don't know exactly what's going to go on the other side of this railway line, so I'm probably not going to focus on that next. I might continue the rock face just a little bit and get the blue bridge in, and then almost start focusing on the other side of the river. I've just got this section of track waiting so we can have something on the rails going straight across it, and it at least sort of delineates where we'll be. So I think the next sort of coast will probably be about where that grey line is, or maybe a bit in actually. So that will be the opening to Brick Bay. And then it will go out there. And this table may eventually move a little bit further out, actually. It's kind of pushed up against this one for now, just so I've got a bit more space to sort of walk around and so on. But yeah, I'm going to try and maximise the room in this space. So yeah, and then I do imagine that that's going to be kind of at the corner post there, either that or the Coast Guard on that side and the lighthouse on this corner. Maybe further out when we've got the next level of tables on there, because they're obviously the subway tables a lot lower down. So yeah, absolutely loads to do. And sometimes you look at progress like this, which although lovely, is really quite small in the grand scheme of things. But bit by bit, we will get there. So yeah, it's like the saying, what is it? How do you eat an elephant? A bit at a time. So yeah, that's what we're doing. We're doing a really big job, one small step at a time, but very soon it will add up to something magnificent. And this scene is definitely looking magnificent, I think. Very cool indeed. But do tell me what you think of it. Ooh, don't fall off the edge. Right, well, it definitely works. I can turn that off now and be very happy with today's progress. You can't really see that rock face at all from here, can you? But it's still a really good view now with that bridge in final position. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos. And if you value this channel, there are many ways in which you can support it. Do check out the links in the description below. And next time on Robin Hood Bricks, we'll be having a haul on Wednesday, and then we'll be doing more work in the city. Will it be another bridge? Will it be another new build? Who knows? I don't. So until then, see you! Good old swamp creatures, just minding their own business, eating a fish.